This is the Messiah Revelation channel. Today we are looking at Bible prophecy. When are the prophecies going to be fulfilled? We know the Messiah is coming very soon, and there are a lot of prophecies that need to be fulfilled. And today we are looking at the dynamics of Zachariah prophecy, the prophecy about the horns, the Gentile horns that scattered the Hebrews all over the world, and the carpenters, the nation that are going to destroy the four horns. As we are aware, the prophet Zachariah had visions, and one of the visions was a vision about the four horns and the four carpenters, or the four craftsmen. And so we want to look at the dynamics of the prophecy. Are the four carpenters around? Are the four horns around? Which nations are the horns referred to in Zechariah chapter 1? And which nations are the carpenters referred to in Zechariah chapter 1? Are they ready? And what are the evidence? What are the signs? What are the dynamics? We are looking into geopolitics. We are looking into military strategy. We are also looking into Bible prophecy. And we are looking into how all those things shape themselves, and how Zechariah prophecy about the horns and the four carpenters, how they will play out. And we will take a look at the prophecy in Zechariah. And Zechariah chapter 1 is our reference. Zechariah chapter 1 verse 18. The heading, four horns and four craftsmen. I'm reading from the King James Version. Zechariah 1 verse 18. Then lifted I up my eyes and saw, and behold, four carpenters. Verse 19. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And the Lord showed me four carpenters. Verse 21. Then said I, what come these to do? And he spoke, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah, to scatter it. And the prophecy is about four Gentile powers that scattered Judah and Jerusalem, so that they could not lift up their head. The Hebrews could not lift up their heads. The Hebrews were so persecuted, they were humiliated, they were downtrodden, they were rendered helpless, so they could not lift up their heads. And the Lord is going to punish the Gentile nations. And the Lord is going to use carpenters, four carpenters, to destroy the four Gentile nations. And this is what the prophet Zechariah is talking about in Zechariah chapter 1, verses 18 to 20. And so we look at the scope of the assignment of the carpenters. What will the carpenters do to the Gentile powers that scattered the Hebrews? These are come to fray them, F-R-A-Y. You can look at the meaning of the word fray, F-R-A-Y. Fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, to destroy their power, to break them. And so if you look at the scope of the assignment given to the carpenter nations, I'll call them the Zechariah nations. They are to fray the Gentiles. They are to terrify them. They are to drive them away. They are to discomfort them, make them uncomfortable, destroy them. And that is the assignment given to the four carpenters who are going to fray the Gentiles. And so we are taking a brief outlook of the potential candidates for the Gentiles, spoken of in Zachariah chapter 1, verses 18 to 20. The Gentiles that scattered Judah and Jerusalem, so that the Judah, the Israelites, so Judah and Jerusalem could not lift up their head. If you cannot lift up your head, it means that you are so scared. It means you are so humiliated. And so you feel ashamed to lift up your head. Your head is down. You are downtrodden. You are low. Your morale is low. Your dignity has been defied. So you cannot lift up your head. And Zachariah is saying that the Gentiles did so much havoc to Judah and Jerusalem, to the children of God, that they could not lift up their head. They were scattered. And we are looking at how Judah was scattered. And we are talking about the event that happened in Jerusalem, AD 70. And you know, Judah was destroyed, Jerusalem was destroyed, and a city in Jerusalem, a part of the province of Judah, Masada was destroyed. Archaeological records in Masada show how the city was defended by Hebrew Israelites, and the archaeological records show Negroes, men with Negroid hair and Negroid features, indicating that Masada was actually a city of Judah, and it was inhabited by black men, black women. And so it repudiates the myth that there's no black person in the Bible. It repudiates the myth that the children of Judah were white people with blonde hair, because Masada archaeological findings show that the people who defended the city of Masada against Roman invasion, the people were black men, and the archaeological records show that. And so we are talking about the Gentiles that scattered Judah and Jerusalem, scattered them to all the four corners of the earth. And when the Jerusalem was defeated, was captured by Gentile Rome, you know what happened. Later on, the Hebrews were scattered to all the four corners of the earth. They fled to the continent of Africa and other parts of the world. And from there, they were scattered again to the islands of the sea, principally beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, to United States, to the Caribbean, to Latin America, and other parts of the world. So a quick summary of the Gentile powers. We are looking at a sample of them, not all the Gentile powers. And here we are talking about Euro-Gentiles, Gentiles that are European nations, and Germany is one of them. And Germany is notorious. Of course, people, when they talk about Germany, they talk about the atrocities that the Germans rendered to Jews. But it goes beyond that. You know that Germany's capital, Berlin, was the focus of the infamous Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885, when the Euro-Gentile nations met and they divided the land of Africa among themselves, 1884, 1885. And that happened at the time that the Euro-Gentiles had scattered Hebrew Israelites to all the four corners of the earth. Allegedly, they abolished slavery in 1807 and slave trade in 1807 and slavery in 1834. but it's not true. Slavery and slave trade still continue even after those periods. And when they allegedly abolished slave trade and slavery, they conspired. Psalm 83 conspiracy against the Hebrew Israelites. They conspired in Berlin, the capital of Germany, and that was the location of the infamous Berlin Conference. So Germany is one of the Euro-Gentile nations that scattered the people of Judah. And Spain is one of them, and Portugal is one of them. Spain and Portugal are notorious because, as you are aware, there was a time that a pope had the audacity to divide the world into two, giving half to Spain, the other half to Portugal. Euro-Gentile nations dividing the world among themselves so that they will go and exploit the resources of other people. They will scatter the children of Judah to all the four corners of the earth. And when you are talking about Spain and Portugal, two Euro-Gentile nations, they are famous, or rather infamous, for the Inquisition. And when people are talking about the Inquisition, they are talking about the Jews. But wait a minute, the Inquisition in Spain and Portugal also involved black men and women, the Hebrew Israelites. And if you read the book written by um, Rudolph Windsor, from Babylon to Timbuktu, you know how Hebrew Israelites who ended up in Spain and Portugal, they became part of the Inquisition. Somebody will ask me, what is the Inquisition? It was a period of persecution of Hebrews in Spain and in Portugal. And the Hebrews, those who had dark skin in particular, they were sent to an island called Sao Tome in Africa, owned by the Portuguese, and they were sent into prison in the island of Sao Tome. So Sao Tome became an island, a penal colony, where those who were inquisitioned in Portugal were sent, and they were sent into prison in Sao Tome. You also have to remember that it was Gentile Portugal that went to Africa, eventually building a slave dungeon in Elimina, the first and the largest slave dungeon in the world. And Portugal and Spain, two Euro-Gentile powers, participated in the infamous transatlantic slave trade in fulfillment of the prophecy in Deuteronomy chapter 28, particularly verse 68. And then we also talk about France, and France participated in the transatlantic slave trade. And if you are talking about France and France's exploitation of Hebrews and black people and Africa, you look at what France did to African colonies from particularly in West Africa. And you also remember what France did to the Hebrew Israelites who were scattered to Haiti. And France exploited them. And even when the Haitians fought for their independence, France coerced them through pressure, diplomatic pressure, and military pressure, coerced the former slaves to pay reparation to the slave owners, the French. And Haiti's resources, in addition to resources in Africa, were stolen, exploited by Gentile France, and that used the resources to develop France. And we also have to remember Britain, and that participated in the transatlantic slave trade. Banks in Britain sponsored the slave trade, and their queen, Queen Elizabeth I, she owned a ship that was used. The ship was used to transport Hebrews from the Negro land in West Africa to all the four corners, to all the four corners of the earth. And the infamous massacre that occurred on the sea involving the throwing into the sea of black slaves. You remember that incident? It took place, and the ship was sailing from Ghana to Jamaica, a British ship, and the crew threw away black men and black women aboard the ship into the ocean, quote unquote, in order to save the ship from sinking. And so you know the atrocities committed by the Euro-Gentile powers, the the Zachariah horns that scattered Judah. They treated them so badly that Zechariah is saying Judah could not lift up his head. The Hebrew Israelites could not lift up their heads. They were humiliated, they were subjugated, and they were downtrodden, and they were scattered over the world, and they were made proverb and byword. And Zechariah is saying that for what they did, the Lord will bring carpenters, and those are nations that will fray the Euro-Gentile powers. They will terrify them, they will drive them away, and they will discomfort them. The question we're asking is, who are the horns? The horns, the nations, the powers. We know them. Germany, we've mentioned them. Spain, Portugal. Of course, I'm not forgetting almighty United States as one of the Gentile powers. I'll call her Euro-Gentile powers that scattered the Hebrews. And the Hebrew Israelites, they are still located in Babylon, Egypt, America. But Zechariah is talking about carpenters. I'll call them Zechariah powers. Zechariah carpenters that are going to cut the horns of the Euro-Gentile powers. They are going to cut the horns. They are going to discomfort them. They are going to break their powers, and they are going to break them into pieces. As we look around, as we watch Euro-Gentiles, Euro-Gentile Germany, Euro-Gentile Spain, Euro-Gentile Portugal, Euro-Gentile France, Euro-Gentile Britain. Of course, you know that they fit the Zechariah horn in Zechariah chapter 1, verse 18. But who are the carpenters? Who are the carpenters? And what come they to do? And he said, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man can lift up his head, but these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles. The carpenters will come to cast out the horns of the Euro-Gentiles, the power of the Euro-Gentiles that scattered the Hebrew Israelites, that colonized them, that threw them in their slave ships, that built dungeons and threw them in the dungeons. Euro-Gentile powers that sodomized and raped black men and black women. I'm talking about Hebrew Israelites. Who are the Zechariah carpenters? And I will focus today on only one of the carpenters, potential Zechariah carpenter, Zechariah craftsman, a nation that has a destiny to cut the horns, break the powers of the Euro-Gentile powers. And today I'm focusing on Russia. Russia is a Gentile nation, but it is not a nation that took part in colonizing Africa. And Russia did not take part in the transatlantic slave trade. And Russia did not take part in the capture of Jerusalem, AD 70. And Russia did not have any colonies in the Negro land, the slave coast. And so Russia is not an Euro-Gentile Zechariah horn, but at least Russia is a Gentile power and fits into the terminology as a carpenter. And here, 2025 and beyond, you know the alignments of power, geopolitics. And when we mention Russia, it is reported that Russia is contemplating or has already deployed missiles in Belarus, and the missiles are targeting Euro-Gentile nations. And so we are looking at the missiles, and we will focus on two of them. The Oreshnik missile, Oreshnik missile, is a very dangerous weapon, and it is in the arsenals of Russia. And the missiles, the Oreshnik missiles, they are targeting Euro-Gentile nations. And from Belarus, when Oreshnik missile that travels faster than the speed of the sound, the missile can hit Berlin in 6 minutes. Oreshnik missiles from Russia can hit London in 8 minutes. Oreshnik missiles from Belarus fired by Russia can hit Paris in 9 minutes. And the missiles, according to those who know the missile very well, the missile is unstoppable. Euro-Gentiles, whether you're talking about France, Britain, or Germany, do not have an antidote to the Oreshnik missiles, and the Oreshnik missiles will be able to do havoc to them. Even if you forget the Oreshnik missiles, Russia also has the S-28, the Samart missiles. The Americans call them that weapon the Satan II missile, intercontinental ballistic missile, and has the capability to destroy a territory as large as Texas, the state of Texas in the United States. Of course, U.S. Is also a Gentile power that scattered Judah so that Judah could not lift up his head. RS-28 Samart, Satan II missile, is capable of destroying a territory as large as the state of Texas. And RS-28 Samart missile, Satan II missile, is capable of destroying England, is capable of destroying the nation of France. And so now we see Russia in a position to be able to destroy Euro-Gentile nations that scattered Judah. Euro-Gentile Germany, Euro-Gentile France, Euro-Gentile Britain. And in addition to the RS-28 Samart, Russia also has the Poseidon nuclear drones. And when the drones are activated, they are capable of causing tsunami, nuclear tsunami, and that tsunami will be able to sink the island of England, the island of Great Britain, the island of Gentile Britain, the nation that for a long time boasted of her naval supremacy, a small nation that was able to colonize large nations, including America, including Canada, including Pakistan, India, in Africa. And that nation is now very little, very small, very frail, very fragile in the face of the Poseidon nuclear drones owned by Russia. And of course, Russia has more nuclear warheads, more than the combined nuclear warheads of Gentile Europe. And so today, we can be able to report that the Gentile powers are around, the Euro-Gentile powers are around, and the horns that can destroy the Euro-Gentile powers are also around. And so Zachariah prophecy, Zachariah 1:20, can be fulfilled. And now you have a sense of how Babylon, America, which I believe to be the United States, one of the Gentile powers that scattered the Hebrew Israelites, I can understand how come Babylon can be destroyed in 1 hour. As you read the book of Revelation, Babylon will be destroyed in 1 hour. Is it possible for Babylon to be destroyed in 1 hour? Yes. Now you see that there are carpenter nations, there are Zachariah powers, and of course Russia is one of them. We can talk about China, you can talk about North Korea, and you can even talk about Iran. And the powers are there, the Zechariah powers are there, and these powers, I believe, with supernatural endorsement by Elohim to fulfill the Zechariah prophecy in Zechariah 1 verse 20, I will be able to do the assignment. The assignment is to terrify the horns, to drive the horns out, and to cut off their horns, their powers. And so it's possible. It's possible that America can be destroyed in 1 hour. And it's also possible that Gentile Portugal, Gentile Spain, Gentile Germany, and Gentile England, Gentile France can also be destroyed. As you see the military posture now in place, as you see the Oreshnik missiles in the arsenal of Russia, capable of reaching Berlin, the host of the infamous Berlin Conference in 6 minutes, and is capable of reaching London, where Queen Elizabeth once lived, and a nation that participated in colonization and imperialism, and the scattering of the Hebrews along slave ships. And as you see, Oreshnik missiles being developed by Russia with a capability of reaching reaching France in 9 minutes. And that is historic, that is prophetic, because only yesterday, only in the 1960s, France had the audacity to test atomic weapons on the Sahara, atomic weapons on the Sahara that caused havoc on the African continent, on the Saharan region in Black Africa. Toxic waste was dumped on the African coast. But today, tables are turned, and the Zechariah horns that scattered Judah so that Judah could not lift up his head. Now they face the spectacle of being dismantled, being destroyed, their horns being taken away by another Gentile power, Gentile Russia. And so we are seeing the dynamics of prophecy unfolding. And so it's possible that the Zechariah powers, particularly Russia, is capable of fulfilling the Zechariah prophecy, the prophecy of cutting the horns of the Euro-Gentiles, the nations that scattered Judah, so that Judah, so terrible, so humiliated, could not lift up his head. How can you lift up your head on a slave ship? How can you lift up your head on a slave plantation? How can you lift up your head even when you are no longer in chains, when you are actually in bondage? How can you lift up your heads? The Euro-Gentiles scattered the children of Judah so they could not lift up their head, and the Lord in his mercy was showing his prophet Zechariah 4 carpenter nations that have the anointing to do the destruction of the Euro-Gentile horns that did the scattering of the children of Judah. And that prophecy will be fulfilled. And when it is fulfilled, then we know that the Lord of the Hebrew Israelites, he's a redeemer, and he's truthful, and his prophecies will be fulfilled, including the Zachariah 1 verse 20 prophecy on the Euro-Gentile nations. And this is my message, and my email is raptureafrica@yahoo.com. I'm leaving it in the description box. Thank you very much for watching this video.